All right, so 2.4, we're going to be writing quadratic equations. So in the last sections, we were given an equation and we needed to graph it. Now we're going to be given a graph and we need to come up with the equation of our graph. So if we're given a graph and that graph has a point and a vertex, we're going to use vertex form to come up with our quadratic equation. So if we have just a single point on our graph and a vertex, we can use vertex form. This is the only one we're going to look at today. Tomorrow we'll go into when we have a point and the x-intercepts. But today we're just looking at a point and the vertex, and we're going to come up with our equation. So the graph shows the parabolic path of a performer who is shot out of a cannon, where y is the height in feet and x is the horizontal distance traveled in feet. Write an equation of the parabola, and then the performer lands in a net 90 feet from the cannon. What is the height of the net? So first thing we need to do is write an equation of the parabola. So in our picture here, we see we have the vertex and we have a point. So our vertex is 50, 35, and then our point is 0, 15. Our equation of our parabola that we need to use is vertex form. So we have y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. We know the points in our vertex are h and k, and then the 2 points in our point are x and y. So we're going to take our h, k, and x and y and plug it into the equation we have and solve for a, and then we can figure out our equation of our parabola. So we're going to plug in everything we have so far. So we have y is 15. We're going to find a because we don't know what that is yet. So we just leave it as a. Our x is 0. Our vertex is 50. Remember in our equation here that it's a minus h. So we have to make sure we have minus 50. And that's squared. Plus our k is 35. Now what's the first thing we need to do to solve for a here? Perfect. We do 0 minus 50, so we do our parentheses first. So we have a times negative 50 squared plus 35. What do we need to do next?
Square 50.
What is negative 50 squared?
250.
2,500. Remember, there's 50 times 50. We would need 2 zeros. So 2,500 times a plus 35. What do we need to do next to solve for a? So remember, our goal is to get a equals. We need a all by itself, so we need to move everything else to the other side of our equation. So what do we need to do next?
Minus 35 on both sides.
Perfect. Minus 35 on both sides. So we have negative 20 is equal to 2,500a. And what's the last thing we need to do? Awesome. Divide both sides by 2,500. So we get negative 20 over 2,500 is equal to a. So now that we found our a, we can take our a, our h, and our k and plug it into our equation, and that's going to be our equation of the parabola. So we leave our y and our x as y and x. So we have y is equal to negative 20 over 2,500. We can simplify this. What would this simplify to?
Negative 2 over 250.
Negative 2 over 250. Can we simplify it more? Does 2 go into 250?
1 over 125.
Perfect. Negative 1 over 125. So our A is negative 1 over 125. And then we multiply that times x, and we just plug in our h and our k. So we have minus 50 squared plus 35. So this is our equation of the parabola. Any questions so far? Next thing we need to do is, it says the performer lands in a net 90 feet from the cannon. What is the height of the net? So what does this 90 feet, where are we going to plug in that 90 feet? Is that our x value or our y value?
Y.
So he's 90 feet from the cannon, and we're trying to find the height. So which one's our x and which one's our y, looking at this picture? Is the height the x or the y?
Y.
The height is the y. So we're trying to find the y. That means 90 feet is our x. So we're going to plug in this 90 for x and solve for y to find out what the height of the performer is going to be at 90 feet. So let's plug in 90. So we have y is equal to negative 1 over 125 times 90 minus 50 squared plus 35. So 90 minus 50 would be 40 squared. What's 40 squared?
$160.
Remember, if we have 40 times 40,
1,600.
perfect. We need 2 zeros, so it would be 1,600 plus 35. Now you guys can put this into your calculator if you want to. So go ahead and put it into the calculator and let me know what you got for y. What'd you guys get? 22.2. So our height is going to be 22.2 feet. So we had two parts to this question. We had to find our equation, then we needed to use that equation to find out what our height of the net is going to be. Any questions here? All right, let's go to our next example. So number 1 says, what if the vertex of the parabola is 50 and 37.5? What is the height of the net? So for this one, we would have to do the whole of the last problem we just did over again, but we would have 50 as our h and 37.5 as our k, and then we would have to find a new a. And then we would have to solve it again. Once we get our new equation, we plug in 90 again and find a new height of the net. So we would just be doing the whole last problem over again. We're going to skip number 1 for now. So let's take a look at number 2. Everybody good with skipping number 1? It's the same thing as the example on the page before. We just have a new k. I'm going to take the silence as a yes. So let's look at number 2. We need to write an equation of the parabola that passes through the point -1, 2, and has the vertex 4, -9. So in our first point, what is our x and what's our y? Come on, guys.
The x is -1 and y is 2.
Perfect. And then what's our h and what's our k?
4 and -9.
So now what do we do with our x, y, h, and k?
We put it in the equation y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k.
Awesome. So we just plug everything in and then solve for a. So our y is 2. We don't know what our a is, so we just leave that as a. Our x is -1 minus 4. So even though this 4 is positive, our equation has that minus h, so we need to keep it as -4 squared plus, or this would be -9, because our k is -9. So now we do our parentheses first. So 2 is equal to a. -1 minus 4 would be -5 squared minus 9. What is -5 squared?
25.
So 25 times a minus 9. We need to add 9 to both sides. So 11 is equal to 25a. We divide 25 on both sides. So a is equal to 11 over 25. What do we do once we find a?
Plug it back into the original equation.
What else do we need to plug in? So we're going to plug in a, and what else? H and k. So we leave x and y as x and y, and we just plug in our h, k, and a. So we have y is equal to, a is 11 over 25, times x minus 4 squared minus 9. So this is our equation of our parabola.